Hey guys, welcome back to my buddy class, and yes, today we are going to learn about semi-conservative mode of replication. So this comes under the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation. To know what is the DNA, how it is being packed in the nucleus, and why DNA is being called as genetic material, you can refer to part 1, 2 and 3 videos of the same chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance. So you will be getting a clear idea of what is that. So come on, let us move on to our class. So we are going to learn about difference between DNA and RNA and semi-conservative mode of replication. So this semi-conservative mode of replication is an important topic and an important point to remember. So before going into that, we will know some differences between DNA and RNA. We will also learn about what are the characters of a genetic material and why RNA is lagging that and DNA is getting that on point. So yes, we know not only DNA but even RNA act as genetic material in some viruses, right? So examples are tobacco mosaic virus, QB bacteriophage, etc. But then why is DNA predominant genetic material and not RNA? For your answer, we first have to know the characters of a particular genetic material. So what are the general characteristics that a matter or should possess to tell it as a genetic material? So yes, it should be able to generate its replica. So here replication is done only by DNA. So yes, if you could remember the central dogma, we said DNA to DNA is replication, and the second one is DNA to RNA, which is transcription, and the third one is RNA to protein, which is translation. So yes, from here you can tell that DNA is able to produce copies of itself, that is it can produce its replica, so it is replicating. And second one, it should be stable chemically and structurally. Why is RNA not stable? So when we are discussing about differences between DNA and RNA, we will just see where RNA is lagging this structural stability. It should provide scope for slow changes, that is mutation, that are required for evolution, and it should be able to express itself in the form of Mendelian characters. Again, what are Mendelian characters and how it is being inherited is again posted in chapter number 5. You can refer to those videos for your clear confirmation. So yes, is RNA not fulfilling this criteria? Come on, let us see. So first, DNA versus RNA. So you can see DNA is a double-stranded material and RNA is a single-stranded one. So what are the other differences you can see? Yes, the sugar molecule that is present here is deoxyribose. So you can see, and here the sugar material that is present will be ribose. So what is the difference? You can see one oxygen is lagging here. That's why it is called as deoxyribose, and this is called as ribose. So you can see that since oxygen is missing here, this site will not be available for any reaction, whereas the other side, that is hydrogen and OH molecule, is present here. Again, this oxygen can have a site for particular reaction. So you can tell that RNA is structurally less stable than DNA. We cannot tell that it is completely or highly unstable. It is structurally less stable than when compared to your DNA. So again, what is the main difference? So we have cytosine, guanine, adenine all in common. So what is lagging here? So we have thymine in DNA, whereas we have uracil in RNA. Again, what is the structural difference between thymine and uracil? You can see the thymine is having a methyl group here, whereas the same is lagging in your RNA, right? So again, you can sense that this site will be available for reaction, whereas since this site is being methylated in DNA, that is thymine, it is not available for reaction. So what can you conclude from this? Yes, DNA is structurally stable when compared to your RNA. So apart from that, RNA has ability to act as enzyme, so which concludes that it is highly reactive substance. Yes, the second hydroxyl group present at every nucleotide in RNA is a reactive group and makes RNA liable and easily degradable. RNA is also known to be catalytic and hence reactive. So DNA chemically is less reactive and structurally more stable when compared to RNA. So among two nucleic acids, DNA will be much better genetic material when compared to RNA. As we said, we cannot say RNA has highly unstable and very highly reactive substance, but we have a comparison here, right? We have DNA and we have RNA where we can compare both. So when you compare both, which is better here? DNA is the better genetic material. To add to it, the presence of thymine at the place of uracil also confers additional stability to your DNA molecule. So RNA can directly code for synthesis of protein, hence can easily express the characters. However, DNA is dependent on RNA for the synthesis of protein. The protein synthesizing machinery has evolved around RNA. So the above discussion indicate that both RNA and DNA can function as genetic material, but being more stable, DNA is preferred for the storage of genetic material. For transmission of genetic material, RNA is a better substance. So RNA is a better material. So we saw the advantages of both RNA and DNA. So but when you take for storing some genetic material, which is more better, DNA is comparatively more better. So next will be RNA world, which is a small topic. So after completing DNA replication, we will be learning about RNA in detail. So RNA was the first genetic material. There is now enough evidence to suggest that essential life process evolved around RNA. So when we study or discuss about the next chapter, that is evolution, we will see what is the first genetic material and how that was formed, and we will discuss about how RNA was formed at that time and how it evolved into DNA, and DNA became a prominent genetic material. So RNA used to act as a genetic material as well as a catalyst. So there are some important biochemical reactions in the living system that are catalyzed by RNA catalysts and not by protein enzymes. But RNA being a catalyst was reactive and hence it is unstable. So therefore, DNA has evolved from RNA with chemical modification that make it more stable. DNA being double-stranded and having complementary strand further resists changes by evolving a process of repair. So next will be the process of replication. So the detailed process of replication we will be discussing in the next class, but today we will be discussing about the mechanism how DNA is replicating. So when Watson and Crick made double helical structure of DNA, they immediately proposed a scheme for the DNA replication. So what this scheme suggested was the two strands would separate and act as a template for the synthesis of new complementary strand, but there was no experimental proof or evidence for this. So after the completion of replication, each DNA molecule would have one parent and one newly synthesized strand. So this scheme was termed as semi-conservative mode of DNA replication. So again, this term is very important. What did Watson and Crick do while they were proposing the double helical strand of DNA, that is structure for double helical strand? What they said, they gave some semi-conservative mode of replication method. That is, they said the two strands will unwind and one strand will be synthesized from the parent and the other will also happen like that. But you should remember, there is no experimental evidence from Watson or Crick for this. So two people called as Meselson and Stahl gave the experimental conclusion that DNA will replicate semi-conservatively. So there are also other methods proposed which was not widely accepted. So the first one is conservative method, which tells that one DNA, that is after the replication, one daughter DNA will exactly resemble like a parent, whereas the other one will be completely newly synthesized. So this was also not accepted. So the third one is dispersive. So dispersive, the meaning itself tells dispersing, that is this parent fragment, that is parent DNA breaks into many fragments, and then newly synthesized fragments will be added to that, and it makes a double helical structure again. So this will be continued to form generation after generation. So this is dispersive method. This was also not accepted. But the second one is semi-conservative method. It is not completely conservative, it is half conservative. So you can tell that a newly synthesized strand is present, but where? One strand will be the parent strand, you can see it indicates the blue color, whereas the other strand will be the newly synthesized strand. So you can see that two daughter DNAs are present, right? So here one strand is obtained from the parent, whereas the other strand is being synthesized newly. Similarly, in this strand, one is obtained from the parent and the other strand is synthesized new. So here what can you again tell? This continues generation after generation. So again one strand will be obtained from the parent, whereas the other will be synthesized new. So this method or this model of replication is generally termed as semi-conservative mode of replication. You should remember this point, that is semi-conservative, is really very important. And two people called Messelson and Stahl proposed the experimental evidence for this, which we will be learning now. So yes, two people produced, Messelson and Stahl gave some experimental evidence using heavy isotope of nitrogen. So you should remember this is not a radioactive one. So because in last class we saw about many experiments like Hershey and Chase experiment, that is where DNA was proved as a genetic material using radioactive isotopes of phosphorus and sulfur. Whereas in Messelson and Stahl experiment, what is used? Heavy isotope of nitrogen is used, that is it contains a higher density, it is very heavier. So in the form of NH4Cl, that is ammonium chloride, and what is being used? E. coli is being used here. So yes, this E. coli was grown in a medium containing NH4Cl, that is heavy isotope of nitrogen was used here. So what will happen here? The genetic material of E. coli, since this is the only source for this E. coli. So what will happen? After generations there will be N15. This will be incorporated into the DNA of E. coli. So how can we differentiate between normal N14 and N15? That is done using a centrifugation called density gradient centrifugation. So which separates the substances according to their density. So density gradient centrifugation, and this centrifugation is done in the medium containing cesium chloride. So you should remember ammonium chloride and cesium chloride are very important. So again this N15 and N15 are getting incorporated into the strand of DNA. So after first replication, so I will be denoting this N15 strand lightly like this. So now this is containing, both the strands are containing heavy isotope of nitrogen on them. So now what they are doing is they are transferring it into the medium of normal nitrogen, that is normal isotope, normal nitrogen and not heavy isotope of nitrogen. So here what is happening at the first generation, that is after 20 minutes. So you know that replication cycle of E. coli is 20 minutes. So after that what is happening? The newly synthesized strand is containing one heavy nitrogen, and whereas the other strand is having a normal nitrogen. So yes, again when you go after generations, so again I am drawing strands here. So this is one strand, this is normal N14 strand. So now which nitrogen is available to that particular DNA? Only normal nitrogen is available. So again one strand will be N15, that is heavy nitrogen strand. So now that will again be replicated to form a intermediate strand, which is nothing but that is also formed here, which is called as N15 N14 strand. That is, this is an intermediate strand and this is completely N15 strand, and this is an N14 N14 strand. So this is again intermediate, which is N15 and N14. When this cycle continues for generation after generation, then what happens is the content of this N15 tends to reduce and reduce. So what can you conclude here? So DNA replication is semi-conservative. So we said that the centrifugation is giving some ideas for this. So how is it giving? So we are going to centrifuge, and let me draw 4 tubes here, and first one will be and depiction for all the 3, whereas the second, third and fourth we will just draw the bands of N14, N15 and N14 and N15. So yes, first we are going to draw for N15. Since it is an heavy thing, it is going to settle at the bottom, forming a darker band. So here again we are going to draw it for N14, N15. So since it is intermediate, it will have a little more thinner band than N15 and it will settle in the middle. So what can you guess for N14? Yes, we can guess it easily for N14 because it is the lightest one here. It will form a smaller band which will be appearing on the top. So now I am going to draw all the 3 here. So first one is again N14. The second, middle and a bit thicker band will be combination of N14 and N15. Whereas the last band, which is very darker, is again made up of N15 and N15. So with this you can conclude that which component or which isotope of nitrogen, either heavy isotope of nitrogen or normal nitrogen, is being present in that particular DNA. So this is density gradient centrifugation. Based on the densities, the substances will be separated. And what they are using for this centrifugation? They are using a substance called cesium chloride. And now the experimental proof. So it is now proven that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. So it was shown first in E. coli and subsequently in higher organisms such as plants and in human cells. And again, who did that? It was Matthew Meselson and Franklin Stahl who performed the experiment in the year 1958. So they grew E. coli in a medium containing N15, that is NH4Cl, and N15 is a heavy isotope of nitrogen. So as the only nitrogen source for many generations, the result was that N15 was incorporated into newly synthesized DNA as well as other nitrogen containing compounds. So this heavy DNA molecule could be distinguished from the normal DNA by a centrifugation called as density gradient centrifugation, which is done in the medium cesium chloride. So again, it is important for you people to remember that this is not an radioactive isotope as in previous experiments where we saw DNA is a genetic material. So there they used, Hershey and Chase used heavy isotope of sulfur and phosphorus, but in semi-conservative mode of replication, what we are using? We are going to use, or we are just using heavy isotope of nitrogen and not radioactive as in case of Hershey and Chase experiment. So then they transferred the cells into a medium with normal NH4Cl and took samples at definite time intervals as the cells multiplied and extracted the DNA that remained as double-stranded helices. So the various samples were separated independently on cesium chloride gradients to measure the densities of particular DNA. So you can see here, which I have already explained you. So the first cycle of replication containing an intermediate one, whereas in second cycle of replication, the intermediate one is 50% and the normal one is 15%. But you should remember that the content of heavy isotope of nitrogen is constantly being reduced from generations to generations. So you can see here again in third cycle of replication, this N14 N15 combination has been reduced to 25%, and again which will be degrading or reducing generations after generation, proving that DNA replication is only semi-conservative. So thus the DNA that was extracted from the culture one generation after the transformation from N15 to N14 medium, that is after 20 minutes, had a hybrid of intermediate density, that is N14 and N15. DNA extracted from the culture after another generation was composed of equal amount of hybrid DNA and light DNA, that is, if you can remember this, so this is this one. So intermediate DNA will be of 50%, whereas the normal light DNA will be of 50%. So after that what happens, this composition or this N14 and N15 intermediate density DNA's composition is getting reduced after generation. So very similar experiments involving the use of radioactive thymidine to detect the distribution of newly synthesized DNA in the chromosomes was performed by Visa Faba on Visia faba, that is faba beans, by Taylor and colleagues in the year 1958. The experiment proved that DNA in chromosome also replicate semi-conservatively. So again, what experiments was done? It was done in the faba beans, that is Visia faba by Taylor and colleagues in 1958 using radioactive thymidine to prove that DNA that is present in chromosomes also replicate semi-conservatively. Again, this is density gradient centrifugation. So you can see the bands of light DNA, that is intermediate hybrid DNA and heavy DNA. So you can see how they are getting separated. So now let us have a short recap of what we saw in our class. So in this class we saw what are the characters of genetic material, what are the general characters, and we also studied about what are the difference between a DNA and RNA. So we had a clear idea and understood that why DNA is called as a genetic material. So later we discuss about semi-conservative mode of DNA replication, that is one strand is the old strand, that is parental strand, and the new other strand will be the new strand that is being synthesized. So which also had an experimental proof which was proved by Michelson and Stahl. So in next class we will discuss in detail about DNA replication. Thank you children. See you in next class.
Please contact us, your buddy, on 98408 44987 or visit at buddy.life.